Hey guys, Desolate Magic here. We've got some huge leaks. Huge. The second card is going to blow your mind, and I don't mean in a good way. So let's start with the really well-designed one, I guess. Iganjo, Seed of the Empire is, of course, a Kamigawa Neon Dynasty card here. It's a legendary land, which that's cool. Comes in untapped and taps for white. Okay, that's huge. Haven't had a lot of that lately, but it has an option. It's basically a spell land, but without being two sides, which kind of proves they didn't need those to be two sides in the first place. So if you top deck this mid to late game and you're like, I don't need another land, or you're just like, oh my god, I have one of these in play already, it's legendary, just get this out of my hand. That's why cycling was so great, except that obviously they turned cycling into a mechanic and then you just blasted them with one spell and won. That deck was absolute cancer and I will never forgive them for not banning it, but this one, it works a little differently. I hope they don't make channel into a mechanic. God, would that piss me off. But anyway, if you pay 3, discard it, it deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. This ability costs 1 less to cast activate, for each legendary creature you control. So you know they were going to do legendary matters. I mean, it kind of worked for Dominaria. It was not tier 1, I'll tell you that. It wasn't the first thing I reached for in a draft. But people didn't hate it. So I guess they thought, well, people did hate it when Kamigawa came around last time. It was more like, oh, I can't drop this in because legendary rule. This is stupid. And then a complete lack of synergy. And then a complete lack of them in the bottom end for legendary matters in the draft. That's at least what I've heard secondhand. I didn't play back then. So this time around, they're doing it again, which, let's just cut the crap. This was never meant for standard constructed. None of this is meant to be balanced for standard, okay? Legendary, the quantity that they've been printing per year has been like almost tripling every year for like the last 3 or 4 years. Because they're printing cards for Commander, because they ruined standard, and the only thing that people play anymore is Commander. That is well-established fact at this point, not an opinion or a guess. So that's what's going on with Legendary. Now this, when you top deck this and you're like, I just don't need a land, I want to do something, chances are you desperately need to do something because you're not winning the game, okay? It's either a stalemate or you're losing. So if you can blow away one of their mid-sized creatures, there you go. And then it takes a little bit of player skill, which I always like player skill over just sheer draw luck, obviously, to hold this in your hand and think, do I need another land in case I top deck like a 5 cost and I've only got 4? Or do I keep this in case I need to blow away one of their creatures? And like that wisdom to read like, what are they playing in best of 3? What did they play last time? What did I lose to? Do they have a flyer with haste that has 4 toughness? In other words, a dragon deck, you know? Yeah, maybe I will hold this in my hand and then think, well, okay, I could drop this in later if I do draw the 5 cost because it doesn't come in tapped. Deck reading and play decisions. It makes you feel like you won the game, not your deck won the game or sheer luck won the game. Years ago, Wizards said they're moving towards that. So the next card, let's just move on to it. Iganjo Uprising. This card is a disaster. This never should have made it out of testing. It's completely unfair and I want it banned already. And trust me, I am not the only person with that opinion. On Reddit, mythicspoiler.com comment section, there's probably somebody on recipes.com complaining about this card because anybody who knows Magic knows that this is garbage. So, okay. 1 red, 1 white, plus X. Sorcery. Create X/2/2 white samurai creature tokens with vigilance. They gain menace and haste until end of turn. So you just summon, 5 of them for 7 mana, pretty reasonable, and then just win the game because they're not going to be able to block. Menace and haste until end of turn. The number one thing that people hate in the last couple of years, besides I guess control decks, because, duh, is big, splashy, giant, powerful things, effects, triggers, creatures, anything, that don't give you enough time to respond to them, where you have like half of combat, otherwise you lose. Instant speed during combat, you counter this spell or you lose because then it boxes people into playing blue counter spells. And nobody wants to play in that hell. And honestly, blue is trash right now. The closest you can get to tier 1 is like a Spirit's pseudo constellation deck. The whole enchantments matter. I'm going to keep resurrecting crap out of my graveyard deck, which ironically doesn't even splash black. They've gone so far off the rails with the color pie, it doesn't even mean anything anymore. So yeah, this is just another example of, I cast this, and if you don't immediately respond to it, during my turn, you lose. This card might as well just be Approach of the Second Sun. So because they found this to be overpowered broken crap, almost definitely designed by Mark Rosewater, they tacked onto the bottom, each opponent creates X-1, 2/2 white samurai creature tokens with vigilance. Oh, so you can block slightly less than half of them. Well, if you think that somebody running this and running a Samurai Tribal deck is actually going to swing with 2/2s instead of 3/3s or 4/4s or 4/3s or flying or God only knows what they're going to do with that as a tribal, you're out of your damn mind, okay? They aren't going to be able to block any of them, and if they do, they're all going to die, which, okay, then they drop Menace the next turn, but would somebody even cast this if they don't think they could win the game or get you down to like 3 life with it? No, absolutely not. They're only going to cast this when it's going to be devastating and you're going to win the game. And if I'm not mistaken, on Arena, sleep is still legal, which, okay, now you're splashing a third color, but still. And then I think in regular standard, so the real actual standard, there's still a white card, I think it's Keldheim, that says tap all your opponent's creatures, all of yours gain lifelink until end of turn, and then you just swing away. I think it's like 6 mana, so there's no way in hell you're going to put these together. And if you manage to get like 15 mana together in white-red, you deserve to win the game. Like, how did you even do that? That's not even a ramp color, although these days, none of the colors stick to the color pie, so who knows, maybe it will be the ramp colors now. But my biggest beef with this is splash red for this card only, and then just run my deck, where I won the first decathlon event on my first try with it, the white-green lifelink, or life gain deck. The creature ETB life gain based one. So Cleric class, we're talking Moon Dancer, we're talking Innkeeper, we're talking all the Ajani's Primate clones, like Hallowed is in there, and then you got the Boosty Angel, all the life gain crap. That deck is unbeatable. They need to ban that deck immediately. I'm just steamrolling people with it. I've almost made it back to Mythic in like 3 days. So imagine I cast this, and then I gain like 16 life, and I put 16 counters on creatures I control. I wonder if I'll be dropping the counters on the ones that have Menace and Haste. So that deck's already pretty tight, and it doesn't tend to go above 4 mana. So, okay, this wouldn't be the best fit, but one of the 3 colors is green. I mean, you could ramp it if you really have to. You could move away from early Blitz and move to, like, Landfall Landfetch, or, like, Mana Dorks, and then just shred them. Either one would fit. Now, you'd be adapting the whole deck to run this one card, but it's just an example. Like, I don't know what Samurai Tribal deck this would fit in. Or I don't know what it would look like. Obviously, the answer is all of them. But if they're anything other than 2/2s with Menace and Haste, which is bad enough already, you're just going to win. You're just going to cast this and win. And if somebody doesn't counterspell it, or what, an instant speed board wipe? I am so sick of thinking, wow, I could have completely and utterly shut them down and dealt with that on my turn, but I didn't even get the time to take a turn because they beat me effectively at instant speed. I mean, we're all getting pretty tired of Haste Dragons and all this other, like, oh, I dropped it in, I'm swinging for 12, haha, do something about it. I bet you to balance crap like this, they're probably going to print Settle the Wreckage or Aetherize and be like, now it's balanced. Now it's fine. When you design a card so broken and so egregious and so hated by the community that you have to give your opponent a benefit on the bottom of the card just to offset it, and then on top of it you gotta print control to shut it down, maybe you just shouldn't have printed the card. Maybe you should have printed a card that does literally anything else, absolutely any other effect than this. They never learn. And best of all, there's not enough Samurai in the game to run this in a commander deck. So this overpowered crap isn't even being sold to commander players, when standard is just a front for selling commander players fancy new cards. This is the worst card I've seen from the set by far. I don't think anything's going to get worse than this. So the last thing to cover is, remember this crumply piece of crap, whatever happened here? I think this was actually the crumpled, like Mylar direct die sub printed, whatever the hell they do, front of a foil, without the paper backing. That was my theory, but I don't know. Maybe it's an effect. Maybe they printed it that way. I don't know. But what I do know is that the back of it, or the front of it, pardon me, is the Kamigawa. So it's a 5 cost +1 saga, which, okay, sagas are back. So we've got an amazing land, and hopefully it'll be a full cycle where we're going to have pseudo spell lands, which I love that. Best decision ever was to make your lands do something else so that you don't just top deck lands and lose a turn. Sagas, well, if you haven't figured it out already, I like the whole, okay, that's going to be a threat this turn, next turn, the next turn, but I've got time to do something about it. And if I have 3 turns and my deck can't do something about it, then my deck sucks. Or bare minimum, if it's 2 out of 3, standard paper, you got to sideboard your way out of it. Build up over time, value over time, giving your opponent enough warning but still being powerful. I like it. Now that said, completely undermining anything I just said, is anybody going to pull off 5 color in standard? Absolutely not. We still have mono red Goblin Rush, okay? Nobody's pulling off any kind of go fetch, drop it in. We don't have triple color lands. Nobody is pulling this off. This is not even a standard card. So with that said, first, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls, because apparently we don't have enough sagas that do that already. I'm already sick of the one that does. Return up to 1 other target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, then each opponent discards a card, so pretty vicious. And then third, exile it and return it flipped over. And that's when you get Okagachi made manifest. So I've already covered that. It's all colors because they didn't feel like putting a 5-color color identifier on the left of the type line. I don't know why. And yeah, I mean, Flying Trample, it's pretty beast. This is not even honestly that good, but if you already like shredded their board state and then like now you're dropping in a pretty good dragon, well, okay. They didn't even give this haste. Good. They shouldn't have. Like literally, you gave your opponent like 2 to 3 turns warning or whatever it is, and then they didn't even give the creature haste, but then you go play that Samurai Summoning bullshit Uprising card and oh, well, you die this turn. It's almost like half the people on the design team know what they're doing and half the people are Mark Rosewater. Or former pro complete idiots. So yeah, we've already seen a card that basically ruins the entire set. I can't believe it. And this, I actually feel like this is a leak. I don't think it's a spoiler. I don't think it was done by Wizards. In fact, it was done by this person with their big fat gorilla mitts. And it looks like there's more than one card behind that. I might be wrong. I mentioned this pretty heavily, but like the crumpling, the wear, the bad cuts on the edges on the other leaks, I think they were stolen from a printing facility. So that's a shame, but well, if Wizards doesn't like the fact that one game-ruining card that nobody wants in Standard and nobody wants to see is making people not care about the set and not care about Standard and not care about the spoilers, listen to me, Wizard. Listen, come close, Wizards. Maybe it's not the leaker's fault. Maybe it's play design's fault. Little ancient samurai secret for you there. Little words of wisdom to live by. So let me know what you think about this trash. If you're about to say I'm wrong, maybe visit mythicspoilers.com or Reddit to see what other people are replying about this card first, because you're wrong. I'm just trying to prevent you from looking like a dumbass. You already are, but like you don't need to let thousands of people in my comment section know publicly. I won't delete the comment. I might pin it, okay? I'm getting really sick of uninformed people being like, you're wrong. Everything you said in this video is wrong. All right, we'll let the people decide. Yeah, don't, read the room before you make your dumb comment about how it's not overpowered. So the whole set's ruined, but hey, tune in for more spoilers. Woo! And I'll see you guys next time.